Welcome to Patriots 4th and 2, the official podcast of PatsFans.com.
We are back on Patriots 4th and 2. I am Russ Goldman, and joining me, as always, is Steve Balistrieri and Derek Havens. This episode, we're going to be previewing the upcoming game for the Patriots against the Dolphins. We will also be doing our Around the League topic, which each one of us shares a topic that we all discuss. On top of that, to start the show, I have an interesting poll question that I put up on Twitter that we'll be talking about as well. We have much to talk about in this episode of Patriots 4th and 2. But before we do anything, I have something very important to share with Derek and ask him an important question. It's very important, Derek. Did you miss me?
I always miss you, Russ. Whenever you can't be on the show. Whenever one of us can't do the show, it's never as fun. And, you know, I really missed our usual fights this week. I'm having withdrawals.
Okay. Well, I thought you might be. You guys did a great job on the post-game show. Just want to mention that it was really good. Good marginalization there, Derek. Just want to mention that as well.
Yeah, of course, marginalization. That's what we do right here in Patriots 4th and 2, right? Isn't that true?
Very funny there, Derek. All right, let's get into my poll that I just recently put up, and I want to get your thoughts on it along with Steve's, and I'll share mine as well, because I was thinking about this. You and I talked about this off air that, hey, you know, Russ, give yourself a chance to talk about the last game. And not that I don't want to talk about it, but it got me to think about something else that I was just curious about. And here's the poll question. Do you believe in the Patriots' defense now? I actually pretty much were all in on the Patriots' defense when the season began. And I think the Patriots' defense has been undervalued for the majority of the season. This is just my opinion. There have been terrible performances. We could talk about Tennessee. We could talk about Detroit. These are terrible performances. But along with that, I got to see a good performance against the Texans. They played well against the Dolphins. I thought they played pretty well against the Packers. There have been some good performances. And then, of course, you have the Vikings game. So my thought on this, I've always believed in the Patriots defense. I thought they were well-rounded defense for this season. So I always believed in them. So, Derek, I'll go to you first. Do you believe in them now?
No, I do not. I think that we were all pretty high on the defense going into the year.
We were.
Well, over the offseason, I know Steve and I were big on the linebacker thing. I know we all talked about how we thought they were going to add some more speed in the front seven, specifically the linebacker position. They never did. But regardless of that, going into the year, we all thought the Patriots defense was going to be pretty good. I certainly did. And I thought they flat out sucked the first few games of the year. I mean, they were bad. They were, and I
not
said
against
a few
the
times,
Texans. They
thought
were bad against the Texans.
Well, you know, if I'm going to marginalize it, Russ, the Texans, you're lucky you caught them in week one. They're a much better team than they are now than they were in week one. But, I mean, I would say that for the defense, you know, they had some poor performances. I thought they were underperforming their talent level. I know a lot of people disagreed. You know, I had some discussions on different boards and, you know, with people, different fans and analysts and et cetera. I think they've rounded into form, but was the question, do I trust them? No, I don't trust them because I
do you
think
believe in them? Do you
believe in them? Whatever. I believe, trust. The answer is no. I just think that,
okay.
Are they capable of a good performance? Absolutely. Am I hitching my wagon to them? No, I don't think they've played and by the way, I don't believe in the offense either. I don't believe in special teams either because they have not showed consistency the whole way through. As a team, I think that they're going to finish out the season relatively strong. That has been their MO the past 2 decades. I think that they will do that. And if they continue to string some good performances together, like this last week in against Minnesota, where they put together, in my opinion, the best overall performance in all 3 phases together, if they can continue to string some of those together, then we can have a discussion about it. But until then, I think they're capable of playing good defense, but I don't believe that they can. I don't really believe in them. I'm not all in on them right now.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you're not all in on the team in general. Would that be fair?
I think that I think that's fair. I think that they're a good team. I think that they're a good team. I think that they're probably, you know, in the mix of the top, you know, 5 teams still. but I think they're closer to 4-5 than they were 1-2 over the past few seasons. I think last year's team was better, and it wasn't good enough to get it done. Now that's kind of unfair to say because it's a different year. You never know what's going to happen, et cetera. But I think that we have seen too much inconsistency from them, throughout the season, and I just want to see them put it together, continue to build off this last week. And maybe we look back at this game and we say, wow, that game against Minnesota, they were flying around on defense. The offense was very balanced. They played a very clean game, and they ever since that point, we really saw them become the team that we all expected them to be. Maybe we'll look back on that, or maybe they'll bring us back to earth a little bit over the next few weeks.
Okay. Derek is being a doubter, which again I understand. There are a bunch of people, in fact, in my own family that are on that wavelength. So I understand that this is not the same team. They are basically listening to what the media is telling them. This is a different team than other teams.
I do have my tinfoil hat on as we speak, so that's not helping things.
Very good. Steve, over to you. Do you believe in the Patriots defense now? And I also want your commentary. Do you feel like Derek? Are you basically all out on the Patriots? Because Derek's all out. He's not all in.
I'm not all out. I said they could contend. I just said they weren't. I said they weren't as good as years past.
Okay.
So you're putting words in my mouth again.
I'm doing a good job of it, Steve.
Well, I wrote something about this yesterday, and I believe that they're coming together perfectly at the right time, and it's just not this game. I go back to the last 4 games, with the exception of Tennessee, where the whole team didn't get off the airplane. The last 4 games, the Patriots' defense has been very good. You go back to that Green Bay game, everyone was worried about, Aaron Rodgers going to 50 points. Aaron Rodgers going to throw for 6,000 yards. Didn't happen. They got 17 points. They did a very good job against Aaron Rodgers. They took the week off against Tennessee, and I thought they played really well defensively against both the Jets. Granted, it's the Jets, but they still only gave up 13 points. And then I thought it was their best game of the year against Minnesota. I think the defense is coming together. And if you look at, I know there's stats geeks out there that just love stats. So let's look at some stats. Against opposing quarterback rating, the Patriots are 6th best in the league. Points allowed, they're tied with Seattle for 9th best in the league. So they're top 10 in both of those. Granted, they give up a lot of yards. Yardage don't mean crap. If yardage was the difference between winning and losing a Super Bowl, they would have rolled, because Tom Brady threw for almost 150 yards more than the Eagles did in the Super Bowl. Yardage doesn't matter. It's points. I think they are coming together. I think things are starting to gel for them. Guys are knowing their role better. And I think that some of the guys who are finding themselves now in the middle of things. You look at a guy like J.C. Jackson, an undrafted free agent. The coaches have so much confidence in this kid that they started him against Minnesota, which is basically a playoff game for both teams. So, yeah, I am high on this defense. Is it, like I said, is it a top 5 defense, top 10? No. But it's certainly capable enough for them to win ball games down at this stretch of the year, especially with the way offenses are scoring this year. So yes, I am high on this defense.
Okay.
So you're high, all right, Steve.
Oh boy, Steve.
On the defense.
I was told that too.
I'm only kidding. Okay. I do want to mention though, and like I did say this to open, but I think that you could look, like I said, you could look back at this victory, because Steve and I know we talked about it ad nauseum on the post game show.
Yep.
About how great a performance it was, and I do think, like Steve said a moment ago, the timing of this could be perfect. I mean, if you put together your best performance at the beginning of December, and then if they can string together a few of the games here, I mean, they never seem to play well in Miami. They've lost 4 of the last 5 times they've been there, but I still feel pretty positive about the game, not to spoil the end of the show. But I think that if you can get through Miami and Pittsburgh, well, now you're sitting really pretty, and you could be going into the postseason with a nice little winning streak and kind of peaking at the right time. But the question is, if Steve's correct and this defense can continue to elevate their game, then yeah, you're going to be in really good shape. If you keep having these ebbs and flows, I think that you put yourself in a bad position to be, kind of canned at any minute.
Okay. Let me go right back to you, Derek. I'm going to ask you a serious question. You've been following the Patriots for a while now. Name me a Patriots defense that you thought was lights out.
Lights out?
Yeah,
it's 2004. 2004.
2004. Okay. 2004. Very interesting. You go all the way back to 2004.
That I thought was like lights out. I mean, I thought 2014 was an awesome defense.
Well, I just asked.
I think. I'm sorry.
I just asked you. You said 2004. Now you tell me 2014. Make up your mind.
Well, you said lights out. I mean, I don't think that. I mean, Seattle's defense in that era and the 2004.
Well, that's my point, Derek.
Was awesome.
They're never going to look like a lights out defense because that's not the style they play. That's kind of my point. It was kind of a trick question.
Well, that's stupid. I just.
Well, the style they play is changing.
You're right. They've been more aggressive this year.
Yes, they have been.
They've been much more aggressive this year, especially the last few weeks. I mean, you go back to that again. You go back to Green Bay. You go back to the game on Sunday. They were playing cover zero against teams that aired the ball out.
I know.
So they've been very much more aggressive in the past few weeks. And again, that speaks to guys. As we know, they treat the first 4 games of the season like extended preseason. They try to slog their way through it and then see what they have, and then they start putting things together. Traditionally, this is the time of year where the defense starts to come together. And, you look at them, this isn't, everyone keeps saying it's bend but don't break. They're not playing that way this year. They're taking a lot more chances. And,
we saw that in the Vikings game, Steve. Listen, I'll give you a good example of this. You guys already talked about it. The drive where the Vikings scored the touchdown to end the half. The Patriots took chances. They were aggressive, and the Vikings took advantage of it. That's going to happen sometimes when you play an aggressive style. But that to me is okay.
I mean, I'd always rather roll the dice a little bit than not. I mean, especially the way the NFL offenses are now, where you can just shoot up and down the field, throwing up 500 yards and 40 points. Like the defense, you need to be able to roll the dice and be aggressive. Or the Patriots actually blitzed on the 3rd and long against Minnesota. I think more than once. and there was like a 3rd and 14 where they brought some pressure.
This goes right to what he's talking about. He's right. It's, again, I'm being a little bit conservative to go to that point because I've been fooled before to say, okay, this is an aggressive style defense. But
do you remember the Tampa Bay preseason game? What was it, like 3 or 4?
That's why I'm holding back, Derek. That's why I'm holding back. But to Steve's point, I think we've seen enough evidence that it is more aggressive. It's not one game. It's several games. Could they go back to more of a conservative approach this week? Yes, because I've seen it before. But what I liked about this particular game against the Vikings, which now leads to us talking about, do you believe in the defense, is that we saw something that we have not seen that often lately, is that amoeba-style defense, which I like. I don't think we'll see it again against Miami.
I think you mix and match those kind of things. I don't think that's that amoeba-style defense thing that you're just going to roll out every week.
Right, that's my point. I don't think you're going to see it against the Dolphins.
They were going heavy. They went heavy against the Jets.
Yeah.
And they obviously felt like, as much as they were daring Minnesota to run the ball, that they weren't going to, and they were proved right. So they went to that amoeba style. The only down lineman at times was Trey Flowers. I don't think you'll see that with Frank Gore in Miami. I think, we'll see more of maybe a base or maybe even a nickel, but you're not going to see that.
No, I don't think you are either, Steve.
Unless they were to get way ahead, and then Miami was forced into just chucking it on every down, then I think they could maybe dust that off. But we'll get into it.
But what's interesting is that you do have that option, and they do have the option to be more aggressive. They are a game plan specific team offensively and defensively. But I've not seen that style of defense for a while, and that was encouraging. And you mentioned the Packers game. They've been aggressive against certain teams. Then others, they've been less aggressive, but that's just who they are. But they
think they're capable of performances, of good performances on defense.
Yes.
It's just about, okay, are we gonna, I'm just not convinced that we're just totally done with turning Marcus Mariota into an all-pro quarterback again. I just, I that was not that long ago. I need to see them build off this, and I think they could. I'm not ruling it out. I'm just saying I'm just not there yet.
Okay, fair enough. All right, guys, now I'm going to share the poll results and some tweets off of the poll, and I'm curious your thoughts on the results and the tweets. Very interesting here. First, let's go to the poll results. I had 411 votes. Obviously, the poll question, do you believe in the Patriots' defense now? Yes was at 59%. No was at 41%. So it's almost 60-40, which is interesting. Here's some comments from it. Brian Zukowski, one of our best listeners, we got to mention Brian, he tweeted this. I believe they can drive me crazy with their inconsistency. As a fan, I'm hopeful. Theodore Vincent tweeted.
That's why he's a smart listener.
Yes, he is a very smart listener. Mr. Vincent tweeted, I have thought their defense was solid all season. It has happened way too many seasons to not come to the realization that the Patriots almost always start the season out slow, especially on defense. Steve already talked about that. Let's see. Andy tweeted, not sure if it shows on the stat sheet, but Dante Hightower has improved the past 3 to 4 games to a much higher level that we're used to seeing. So he's going right to Dante Hightower. Let's see. Sony SZN says, where's the I've believed in them all season option? Okay, well, good for you.
I want it when he's smoking.
Let's see. Brian Wentworth says, at home I do. And JTR3, yes, with an if, no with a but. Okay. So those are the tweets and the
guy who mentioned Dante Hightower, I don't remember his name, but I did think Hightower looked the best he has all season.
Okay,
and
I agree with that.
I think that McCourty played pretty well in this game too, Devin.
Okay.
And both those guys, I think, throughout the year have been much quieter. Dante, I think, has been lumbering and showing age a little bit. The guys in general seem like they were flying to the ball. If you can get Hightower to return to form, and it wasn't age, maybe it was injury or whatever, if he can play more like he did this Sunday, I think it's going to do wonders for that front. Because the whole year or the whole offseason we were talking about getting Hightower back and how much important that was for the defense. And really he's been kind of invisible, I would say, for most of the games this season. I thought Sunday he really stood out.
Okay. Derek, thoughts on the poll and the tweets, and then I'll go to Steve.
Well, I mean, I think it was pretty split. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by that. I think a lot of fans kind of talked about what we talked about, whether it's the inconsistency, whether some believe in them, some don't. I mean, I think it's pretty split because I think this season to me is one of the hardest in memory to diagnose exactly what this team is. We all, I think, are still wondering what are the final chapters of the 2018 New England Patriots are. A lot of times, who was it? Bill Parcells who said it takes like 8 games to get to know a team or something like that. It was like along those lines. We're 3/4 of the way through the season, and I'm still not sure exactly what side of the coin this team's going to land on, and maybe that speaks to this team specifically or the league. I'm not sure. It's maybe one of those things that you're going to, unfortunately, as a kind of a cop-out, you're going to need to find out later, after the season's over, to know really what the story was. I think that they're a good team, but we'll see if they can elevate their game and start playing consistently like we've talked about so far.
Okay. Steve, your thoughts on the poll and some of the tweets, feel free to comment on both.
You're right. Well, I've already made my feelings known on this. And, the comments show how the poll was split. And it's, everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and they're all valuable. So we'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Very good. All right. Guys, let's move on. Let's go to our Around the League. We haven't done this in a while. Mr. Balistrieri, I'm going to start with you. What do you have for us?
Yeah, some bad news actually, NFL-wise. We saw that gruesome injury that Alex Smith suffered
Yep.
in that game a few weeks ago, where he broke his leg in a couple of spots, and now to hear today that he's had multiple surgeries because infection keeps spreading in his leg, and they keep taking tissue out that's infected. That's just not a good sign, and I hate hearing that, regardless of whether you like Alex Smith or not. You don't like hearing these things. I mean, this could mean the guy's livelihood is over. I just hate hearing that. And when I was reading that today, it's an awful thing. And I remember when Brady went through that after his surgery. He went through that time where he kept getting infections, and knowing guys in the military that have had similar type things, that can cost you your leg. So it's nothing to poo-poo about. If that infection starts to run wild, that they might have to take this guy's leg off, and that I just
Derek, your thoughts on what Steve just brought up here?
Yeah, no, I saw it earlier. They had to go out and clear it up again, and it's already such a nasty injury anyway. Really, really gruesome. It's going to be tough for him to come back. I mean, Washington invested a absolute crap ton to get him over there, and you have an injury like that. I think he's in his mid-30s, 34, I want to say. Still have a lot of money on the books, and he's gonna have to really work hard in order to get back on the field to start next year. It's obviously facing an uphill battle. I think it's pretty serious. I mean, the team put out a statement today. We're continuing to monitor. I mean, I know Alex Smith gets a lot of stuff, and he's, has he always been able to, elevate teams at times? Yes, but he's never been that great quarterback. But he's a very good player, and you never want to see him go down the road of infection and things like that. It's definitely take the gruesome situation to a whole other level of concerning.
Absolutely. It's a very sad situation. I wish the best for Alex Smith. Steve, thank you for mentioning that. Derek, over to you. What's your topic?
My topic is just how the NFL sucks with the penalties they give players sometimes are so head scratching. I was reading about how Ezekiel Elliott for the Cowboys always does that jumping into the Salvation Army thing, and they fined him like $13,000 for it. I'm like, what bad pub, what bad publicity could that cause? Like Tyreek Hill jumped into the stands and grabbed a camera and started zooming, and they didn't fine him for that. But you're going to have a guy jump into a Salvation Army kettle so the camera goes right on him. It's in prime time. What's wrong with that? I just think the NFL is so ass backwards sometimes with how they operate. It makes no sense. I wanted to rant about that real quickly. And the other comment I wanted to make was, I loved how everyone is just, there's so much media outrage that the Packers, let Mike McCarthy go in mid-season. Like it was some shock, and it was like, oh well, their loss. He's going to get another job. Well, yeah, he is going to get another job because there's not enough good coaches in the league. And if you had watched the Packers play for a quarter of the season, you could see the dysfunction. Clearly he had been kind of tuned out, and the Packers needed to make a change. And they're going to need to bring somebody else in, and I'm sure Mike McCarthy will find a job, no problem. But at the end of the day, he is, he was not the quarterback or the coach that needs to be there anymore.
Oh, okay, very good. Steve, your thoughts on Derek's topic?
I totally agree with that. I mean, people were talking all winter and spring about the dysfunction in Foxborough. You want to see dysfunction? Look up there in Green Bay.
Yeah.
They were the poster children for that.
Totally agree.
I mean,
totally agree.
I don't always like Colin Cowherd because I think he's kind of a blowhard, and he just likes, he just gives his opinions and whatever. But he got retweeted on. I only watch clips of his show when it gets kind of retweeted on my timeline. And he actually, for the first time in a while, said something that I actually agree with yesterday, saying how the that Aaron Rodgers has just too much power there. And it was the same thing with Brett Favre. There's no like checks and balances. There's no one there who can really push back because they don't have an owner. And he married it into the Patriots because he just loves slobbering all over New England. But I mean, it is true. I mean, when you see situations like Mike McCarthy and the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, it's easy to link back to the Patriots, and it is that much more remarkable that they have been able to sustain it for so long. So when you have storylines like we had over this past offseason or two, you know, there is that kind of shows the validity to it, because at the end of the day, they're not just, you know, sports figures, but human beings with feelings and emotions and pride and jealousy and greed and all that stuff. So I mean, I don't know how you go ahead and even Aaron Rodgers out, but I do think that with the Green Bay, they needed to make a change, and I had no problem with them letting him go early. I thought all the outrage over it and acting like it was a surprise was idiotic, because, like you guys have said, I mean, it was a sinking ship from the get-go. Okay,
very interesting there. All right, guys, my topic does involve the Patriots in some way, and this is something that, again, I don't understand, and I'm going to ask you a question. Do you care about what I'm about to share with you? All of the speculation is now starting up again with Josh McDaniels, now with the Green Bay Packers, because of what Derek just said about Mike McCarthy. He's gone. Here's the thing. I could give a flying fart in space about all of this speculation or all this talk about Josh McDaniels. I don't care. I really don't care. Talk to me in February, and then maybe I'll have an opinion on it. This is something, guys, that I just don't get. I shouldn't say that. I understand why it's done. I just disagree with it, because I would rather hear talk about what we talk about when we talk about the Patriots, you know, on the field, rather than talk about something that might or might not happen with Josh McDaniels. And we both know, all three of us know, that the reason why it's being brought up, it's to scare the Patriots fans to think that he's going to leave, because scare tactics work on TV, radio, and also in the print. And that, to me, is why I think it's being done. It's not that anyone really cares about will Josh McDaniels or stay or go. I'm talking about in the media. They just think it's a way to cause a ruckus and get notoriety to Patriots fans and make them crazy. That's what I think about it. Steve, what do you think?
Would this happen to be a topic on a certain show, say between 2 and 6 in the afternoon?
Possibly.
Possibly. Well,
I agree. No, I do agree with what Russ said.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you're saying there. I mean, is it a possibility for him to go there? Of course it is. I doubt actually that he would.
But that's not what I'm asking, Steve. Do you care about it? Do you care about it now?
Well, I don't care about it right now. After the playoffs are over, right. Yes, then I'll worry about it. But honestly, I don't think he would go there, because if he tuned out, McCarthy, well, who says he's going to tune in to Josh McDaniels?
Right.
So I wouldn't go there. But whatever. I mean, I guess that's the hot take right now.
That is the hot take. Derek, do you care?
Not really. I mean, I don't mind people talking about it. I don't really. I think the problem with a lot of the shows around the Boston area, at least, is that they go off. I mean, you take a story like that, which is like a rumor or a report from somebody, right? Okay. Yep. And then what they do is they give their opinions and they speculate, and then they speculate on their own speculation. And it's like, well, now you're taking something and you're twisting it 8 different ways.
That's right.
I mean, I don't mind them talk. I don't mind if they talk about it, because I do. I mean, it's Patriots related. It concerns the team, and a lot of people. We've talked about it on the show about maybe McDaniels could be the successor, and I'm not sure if he will or won't be. But at the same time, I have no problem if they bring it up. But what I do have a problem with is when it goes on for fucking. I'm sorry, didn't mean to cuss.
That's okay.
2 hours. 2 hours about about the same story, and they're speculating 6 ways to Sunday. It just doesn't really make any sense.
Well, that's my point in all this, Derek. And that's why I asked, do you care? And as Steve said, I would care when we get into, say, February, after the playoffs are over, after the Patriots are out. Then I start caring. I don't care right now, because I care about what's going on in the field. And if this is brought up once or twice, written about once or twice, fine. But that's not the way it works around here. And I really don't care. And it's just too bad that there are some that believe that it's important because it's their own agenda to make it important. Like you said, they'll twist it into 8 different ways to make it important. And that's the part that makes me nuts. And that's why I brought that up. Anyways, enough
Let's
with
talk about the Dolphins.
Week. Let's talk about the Dolphins. Very good, Steve. I'll go to you first. Give me your opening thoughts on this game on Sunday. We all know the Patriots tend to have a hard time in Miami. It's been traditional for as long as I can remember. Thoughts on the game?
All right. Well, let's break down some of the more recent games. Okay. 2013, the Patriots were a one beat up unit. I mean, Joyce was a starter out on the wide receiver. Danny Amendola was playing with a torn groin. I think, if I'm not mistaken, either Edelman or Gronkowski was out. Gronkowski was out. So, it's like, okay, everything was falling apart. 2015, that was the Steven Jackson game. I mean, they basically punted from, the opening snap to try to get healthy before the playoffs started. So I throw those games out. And, 2014 was the game they melted down in the second half. It was also the first game of the year. And we know how the Patriots come out of the chute, the first month of the season. So a lot of those games I just toss out recently. I know that traditionally they've always played like poo-poo down there. But I'm not buying into this Miami mystique either. I mean, last year it was like one of those Jacksonville games. This year, or the Tennessee game, where they didn't even get off the plane. I think they got caught looking forward, to Pittsburgh. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think Belichick is hammering home the point that as an organization they got caught looking forward. I think they're going to play a lot better. And, and for once, they're the healthy team. And Miami's the guy that are all beat up.
Yep.
They have a bunch of guys on IR, and they have a bunch of guys that are questionable.
Okay, very good. Derek, over to you. Your opening thoughts on the Dolphins.
Well, I do think that obviously the Patriots' struggles in Miami are undeniable. I think that at least in history, they've had some problems, whether it's the beginning of the year with the Heat or at the end of the year for whatever reason. I mean, geez, Steve just had the Steven Jackson game, and I got chills. I'm still pissed about that game, but I'm still pissed about it. Just running the ball 1,000 different times with a dinosaur in the backfield. It just anyway. But if you look at this week, I think Adam Gase I think he's doing an okay job down there. I don't think he's a bad coach. I do think the players like him. I don't think they obviously, have had Tannehill injured. I don't think he's the answer quarterback. I think we've all known that for a while. Whether Miami knows it or not, it will be to be determined. I think they need to start over and get another quarterback in there. But they have some players on both sides of the ball, and I think can make it interesting. Supposedly, Danny Amendola was supposed to not practice yesterday and disobeyed the team and got out there and practiced on a limited basis because he wants to play on Sunday. So I thought that's an interesting kind of storyline there to keep going. Again, I don't know if Amendola just has something to prove or whatever. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. He's probably still upset, about how everything went down. I don't blame him. I'm sure we'd all like to have him here anyway. But I mean, I'd rather have Danny Amendola here than Dwayne Allen, but here we are. So, I think that on the other side of the ball, one of the biggest storylines to me is one of the better young cornerbacks in the league, Xavier Howard, for the Dolphins. He's out with a knee injury for the second straight day today in practice. We're recording this on Thursday. If he doesn't practice tomorrow, it's looking like he's not going to play. And that's a big loss for that secondary. He's been a really good player. He picked off Brady twice last year or earlier this year. And I think that if you lose him, I think you're even more handicapped against Brady than you would be normally.
Okay, very good there, Derek. All right, let's get into our matchups. Steve, I'll start with you. Patriots defense versus Dolphins offense in the running game and the passing game. Who do you give the advantage to in these two matchups?
Well, the Dolphins, they have two really good running backs, and Frank Gore, Frank Gore is one of those ageless wonders. I mean, people talk about Tom Brady. Frank Gore just keeps going, and he's leading the team in rushing. He's still a really good back, but the guy that worries me is Kenyon Drake, because I mean we've seen he give the Patriots fits in the past. He's fast. He's a good running back out of carrying the ball, but he's also a very dangerous guy out of the backfield in the passing game. I'm going to give the Dolphins a slight advantage in the running game, but I like the Patriots to give them some problems in the passing game this time around, regardless of what they're saying in the Sun Sentinel down in Miami, that Ryan Tannehill owns New England in Miami. I'm not buying that a bit, okay? And I'm glad they put that out there, because if there's a wake-up call to be had, that's the one.
Okay, very good there, Steve. All right, Dirk, to you. I'm going to give you the Patriots offense versus the Dolphins defense in the running game and the passing game. Who do you give the advantage to in these two matchups?
Well, I do think that the Patriots are going to have the advantage through the air. On the ground, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher, although, it's funny. I'll give the edge to the Dolphins slightly in the run game, but not by much. I do think the Patriots, and we talked about this on the post-game show, so I don't want to rehash it for those who listen to both, but I don't think this year the Patriots, they want to run the ball. I think they want to set the tempo. They want it to play more physical. I think they're capable of getting into a shootout, but not as much as years past. They want to work in the run game. They want to get Michelle involved. They want to get Burkhead involved, James White, and they want to use the play action and keep you off balance and things like that. So they're going to run the ball this week like they're going to do it every other week game they play this season. But I still think they'll still be a pass first team and they'll still have success through the air. But the matchups this week will be interesting to see, who they go to in order to exploit. I think that you're going to be looking at a pretty big Edelman game, in my opinion. I'll be curious. I think he's going to have I think they're going to have a really tough time, because I think what they'll do is they'll be putting him in a lot of positions to win on the inside and then break some tackles. So. Okay,
very good. All right, time for 3 keys to victory. Steve, to you first. What are your 3 keys?
Well, I'm going to go against the grain of what Derek just said, because I think they're going to run the ball down Miami's throat this week. If you look at Miami, they started off 3-0 this year. And since then, they're 3-6. And what turned the corner for them? Well, people found out they can't stop the run. They're 30th in the league against the run. They're allowing 144.7 yards a game and 5.0 yards per rush. And it started with New England. Patriots, the first matchup, ran for 175 yards. Then Chicago ran for 165. The Lions ran for 248. Houston ran for 188. Green Bay of all teams, ran for 195 yards. And last week, although I will give them an outlier on this one, Buffalo ran for 198 yards. Most of those were scrambles from, Josh Allen. But if you look at Miami, their defensive tackles, Godchak, Akeem Spence, they haven't been good against the run this year. And Raekwon McMillan, their middle linebacker, has been terrible against the run. Now, he's an athletic guy. He goes sideline to sideline. He's very athletic, but he's been terrible against the run, and so's Kiko Alonso. I think, number one, this week, Patriots run the ball, and they run the ball right at them. I think they're going to run the ball down their throats. Number 2 key for me.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that, I'm probably giving them too much credit, because the reason I thought that I was going to give Miami the edge on the run game, not because of the numbers. Although you saying it out loud like that makes me feel even stupider for the comment. But I think that my thought is that I believe teams know the Patriots want to run the ball, and I think they want to put it on Brady Brady's arm, as stupid as it sounds. I mean, I think anybody normally would look at it and say, if the Patriots are running the ball, it's a win for us because it's not in Brady's hands. But I think a lot of teams are going to know that you have to make you can't let them just run the ball down their throats. And I think that they were going to try to take the running game out because they've been dedicated to it all season and they've had success. But I mean, maybe I am. I mean, there's no doubt that the Dolphins defense is certainly built more for pass defense than run defense. I mean, that's just what they've kind of built that, like you just talked about, the defensive tackles, the linebackers, the players they have are all more predicated to defend the pass and the run, which is probably a smart thing. I have a feeling Miami's going to try to take away their run game, but to your credit and to your point, they haven't been able to do it all season, so I'm not really sure why I think they're going to be able to do it now.
Yeah, and I just don't think they will. I mean, I think the Patriots, you look at how they ran for 160 yards against, top 5 team against the run last week. If they come out and play with that kind of fire, I think they're going to run the ball down their throat. But getting back to our second key of the game this week is they have to get after Tannehill. And if they get after him, we've seen this in the past. We've seen this before. If you give him time, he'll look like the quarterback Miami always envisioned he was going to be. And when you get after him, he starts making really bad decisions. And we've seen that side of him in the past, usually up here in Foxborough. And I think they have to get after him this week. And third key to the game is you have to win the turnover battle. I mean, in the games they've lost on there, they've turned the ball over, and Miami hasn't. So, they're not a team that's built to score a lot of points. If you make them go down the field and have to score by going the length of the field, you're going to win the football game. And I think the turnover turnover key is huge for them this week again.
Okay, very good there, Steve. Derek, your 3 keys.
Well, my first key is not turn the ball over like Steve just mentioned. I won't expound on that too much, but I do think this is one of those things, Russ, where the Patriots always have problems down there. So what do you not want to do? You want to go ahead and start fast, not turn the ball over, play a clean game. Turning the ball over. If you give them extra chances and you let them give them a lot of juice, I think that will definitely hurt you. And then number 2 is kind of in that same vein where I think the Patriots, you want to put them in a hole early. So I think everyone always wants to start fast. You always really want to be the first team, but I do think that getting a lead early would be really, really helpful for the Patriots because, you just want to take some confidence away. The Dolphins aren't playing for anything. It's always, a team like this is Super Bowl. They just want to win. They just want to win this game, send their fans home happy, and at least feel like they accomplished something because their season's down the toilet now. I think you look at getting a nice lead, taking some energy out of that building, which is probably mostly Pats fans at this time of year anyway. Let's be honest. Let's just kind of deflate their hopes early and then move on. And then the third key is for me, it's just finishing strong. And how do you do that? I think you need to play a complete 16-minute ball game. I want to see them play consistent football, wire to wire, like last week in all 3 phases. I think that you can do that by doing what Steve talked about. And if you can run the ball and you can finish with that, I think that's what you'll see Bill Belichick do. And whether the Miami Dolphins can stop it or not will be to be determined. But to me, that's what you want to do this week. You want to finish strong and make sure you put an exclamation point on it because, look, you're coming off a big game against Minnesota at home. You're going to Miami, and now you're going to Pittsburgh the next week. I'm hoping that this team doesn't kind of look ahead to Pittsburgh, and I think that the team's really I think Belichick's really just trying to have them focus on, look, the team's talked about it. They've struggled down there. He's been reiterating that. I think he's trying to have them focus on this game and not look ahead too much to Pittsburgh the following week. But you can't. If you lose this week, it will hurt you just as much, but it will still be a pretty painful loss. Losing in division, in conference, when you're the standings are in jeopardy. You need to make sure you can win and keep pace with everybody else because the top seeds are still up for grabs.
Okay, very good, guys. Real quick, Derek, is there a favorite game that you can remember in Miami?
I can tell you a least favorite game. As far as a favorite goes, I can't really think of anything that comes to mind. Why? What's on your agenda here, Russ?
I think Steve will remember this game. How about 2003 with Troy Brown in overtime?
That was a great one. That was a great game. My least favorite game was the Wildcat game. That one just sucked.
Okay.
Well, that was here in Foxborough.
That was in Foxborough, though.
Oh, yeah, it's true. Jeez. I mean, when was that, 2009? And that was a while. 2010?
2008.
I mean,
Derek, I think I have to get you some coffee or something. What is going on with you today?
I don't have a good memory, Russ. I can't remember when Ronnie Brown ran all over us. Apparently you do. I have.
That's okay. All right, guys, let's finish this up and let's go to predictions. Steve, over to you first. What's your prediction?
All right. Well, this is a playoff game for Miami because at 6-6, they still have a glimmer of hope for, getting in the postseason. But you look at their schedule. They have the Patriots this week, Jacksonville, and I think after that they have Minnesota. So, I think they're kind of behind the eight ball. I can't see them making the playoffs with the way things are going, and I think the Patriots are going to stamp them out pretty quick. I don't think this is going to be one of those Miami games. I look at this, and for once the Patriots are healthy going down there. Miami's not, and I think the Patriots last year they went down there. They could afford to lose that game and still keep the number one seed if they beat Pittsburgh. This year they don't have that luxury. I think they're going to go down there and kick their butts, 27-13.
Wow, very good. Derek, over to you.
I think the Patriots are going to be too much for the Dolphins this week. I think that there's a chance it starts out a little slow because it tends to not. I just would really like to see them, play a strong game all the way through because sometimes it's like you just can't shake out of that. You just can't shake the Dolphins off for whatever reason. I'm not really sure why, but I mean, after watching them play last week, the Patriots and the Dolphins, this game should not be close. I'm going to pick it closer than I want to. I think the spread's 7.5. I'm going to take the Dolphins to cover by a half a point. I think the Patriots win 27-20. I hope it's a lot different than that, but I'm just not ready to say. Just given how the team's been kind of up and down this year, their history in Miami, should they win by a lot? They should, but I don't have a whole lot of confidence they're going to win by more than a touchdown.
Okay. All right, I'm going to go to a score that's close to Steve's. I'm going to say 28-14 Patriots. I agree with Steve. I think enough with the Miami Dolphins. I think the Patriots are going to get down to business and win this game. It's an important game for them. The history with Miami is obviously very bad, but I do like the Patriots in this game. And part of the reason is that they can run the ball. I think that's huge. I'm glad that Steve mentioned that. I think that's a major advantage when you go down there. So I'm going to give the Patriots more than a little bit of an edge. 2-touchdown edge, 28-14, like I just mentioned. All right. Great show, guys. Fantastic show. Steve, I missed you earlier in the week, but you and Derek did a great job. I just want to mention that.
Well, thanks. It was fun. Not as much fun as when the three of us are together, but, occasionally something comes up and one of us can't always be here, so we have to do what we have to do.
Right. I hear you, and thank you guys for understanding. And Derek, it's funny. I could tell very early on that you miss me or that I'm influencing you because you used the word marginalize. And I'm like, okay, Derek's on board with me. He's missing me.
Missing you, yes. On board with you, probably not. No.
Well,
more often than not.
Well, what's new there?
But I do, but did you like how I worked that in, though? Sometimes you can marginalize things the other way.
Yes.
Patriots win against the Jets. Only okay. Patriots, you look at the stats, sometimes stats lie.
Right.
And that was the case against the Vikings.
Well, what's interesting, Derek, listening back to the show, and I was thinking about this, it's like, maybe I should have Derek host more because then I could actually talk to him and then you wouldn't talk as much.
Well, you'd think so, but I'm sure it wouldn't work that well.
Yeah, that wouldn't work. You're right about that. Knowing you. All right, great show, guys. Fantastic show. Let's wrap this up. For my co-hosts, Derek Havens and Steve Balstray, I'm Russ Goldman. Thank you as always for listening to Patriots 4th and 2, the official podcast of PatsFans.com.